Welcome back into the Coffee and Conversation with your boy Joe Lockett. How y'all doing today? Y'all know where I am, right? I'm live at the Filter Coffee Parlor, right? My coffee getting ready to come out soon. I got great guests lined up for you guys today. Man, listen, I can't read no row. I sometimes can't even spell my own name. But this young lady that's on the show today, she's beautiful. I'm gonna say demure. My nephew told me that word. I don't know what the hell it means, but hey, it is what it is. But she's on the show today. I have Tracy. She's in the building. She's a best-selling author. I cannot wait to talk to her to find out what her story is going to be about. It's about grief. It's about loss. It's also about winning. So you guys stay tuned for that. And just maybe you'll learn something from her story. And I wonder, y'all, can I get her to read a passage from the book? Don't ask me to read. Don't do that. Because, like I said, my reading ain't all that great. But before I get into the show, I want to talk to the men out there. I always try to give like a positive message before the show starts. Um, I discovered something about myself recently, and I did not know how to put it into words. I've been working on this for the last couple of years, but in the last few weeks, maybe the last month or so, I've come up with this here, and I'm still working on it. But I'm gonna share a little bit with you guys, and if you kind of agree with me and help me expand or spawn, whichever way it is, right? Expand upon it. I would like for you guys to drop your comments below on wherever you're watching the phone. Hello, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. How y'all doing? The X, y'all doing good? Appreciate you guys watching us. I have this thing I call one dimensional, right? One dimensional man. And ladies, probably you're dating a one dimensional man right now. And I used to be, and I'm still sort of kind of is a one dimensional man. Yo, what are you talking about? I told you I'm working on something, right? One dimensional meaning that I'm a man that came from my parents with a philosophy, right? Of who I am and what it takes to be a man. And when I went into the world, that's who I became, right? I was that guy, you know, love, protect, watch over the woman, take care of your family, and work real hard. But that's one dimensional, right? Because you don't know anything else about what it is to take to be a man. It takes way more than that. And a lot of us men, when we get married and have families, right? We don't realize that one dimensional, or we even just in that one dimension, that there's so many other dimensions of us that we need to become a great husband, to become a great father, to become a great man. I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more later on as we continue to do these different podcasts. Y'all going to see different things coming out. But ladies, understand sometimes you're with a great man, but he may just be one dimensional. Maybe because he haven't seen the world in different places. Maybe he don't understand that he's one dimension because the world has told him, his mom has told him, his dad has told him, you know what I'm saying? This is what you better be. And the world expects him to be that. But then when you marry that man or you're dating that man, right, that one dimensional man, you're wanting something more from him. But he don't know what that is because he's never been taught. So that's what a one dimensional man is that comes in and says, this is what I am. And this is what we're doing. And this is how we're going to lead. And you said, that's my leader until you need other dimensions of him. And it's not there. Yeah, I hit on the nerve, didn't I, ladies? Yeah, but y'all drop your comments below. Let me know what you guys think about that. That's what I found out about myself. Fellas, if you're listening to this, I'm quite sure your woman that just sent you this, bro. I'm sorry, you may be in trouble right now. But fellas, do you think what I'm saying is true? Drop your comments also. All right. Now, with that being said, I always try to find some of the best guests to bring onto this show and have a coffee and conversation with them today. And I always search through social media, through contacts. I ask my guests to actually tell me if you know anybody interested to talk to because I love to find out stories. Whether they're good, they're bad, they're entrepreneur, whatever. I try to find great stories for you guys, and hopefully you can pull something from the story, or maybe you are the story, and you just didn't know how to resolve it. And most of the people I try to bring on, they're already successful at a point, but you don't know the story behind that person, right? This lady here was introduced to me from a friend of mine, and you just never know what people may be going through. She's a wonderful mom. She's a wonderful wife, daughter. She has been this phenomenal person, beautiful, outgoing, right? I see on social media, man, it's like she lights up the page. She got these boots, these hats on, right? She's beautiful. She's coming across this thing. I'm like, man, I'm going to be nervous when I meet this woman. But then I saw the book that she wrote, right? I saw the title of the book. And then she sent me her bio. Wow. It's a lot behind those pictures. And today, she's on the show with Joe, Coffee and Conversations. And she's here in the building with me, the one and only Tracy O'Neal Daniels. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Joe?
I am doing good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good, good, good. So how you doing this morning?
Good. I'm really good. I'm in an area of my life that I've never felt before, and that's because I had to let some things go,
Uh-huh.
let some people go, and now I'm getting a chance to live
Uh-huh.
for Tracy.
Right.
I mean, I live for God,
Okay.
but I'm getting a chance to live and experience things that Tracy would like to try.
Okay, so Tracy, go ahead and
Mhm.
tell everybody what's your full name.
Tracy O'Neal Daniel.
Okay. And so I didn't understand the name, so I want to kind of start right there first. O'Neal, is
Okay.
that your middle name?
O'Neal is my maiden name.
Okay.
My father is a pastor.
Okay. Okay.
Mount Canaan Full
So you
Gospel
kept your
Church.
maiden name and then
Kept it,
okay.
and then my deceased husband, I still carry his name.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you've written the best-selling book on Amazon. And what's the name of it?
Since he went away.
Mm, that touched me because when I saw the title, right, it didn't fit some of the stuff that I saw on social media. But then, like I said, when you sent me your bio, right,
Mhm.
I want to get to your book, and we will.
Okay.
But for the people watching the show today, right, I really want to go back to when you was a little girl, and I want to know who is Tracy O'Neal Daniels. So let's start about when you was let's go to elementary
Okay.
with your parents. Did you grow up in the two
Mhm.
parents household? And where did you grow up at?
I grew up in a split household.
Okay.
I was with my mother during the week
Mm-hmm.
and with my dad and his wife. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
with my dad and his wife on the weekends and
Mm-hmm.
during the summer.
Okay, so when you were born, were your parents together, or
They were.
okay, so they got a divorce.
I
Okay,
think I was about 4 when they split.
okay. So
Mhm.
at 4, did you have feelings, emotions about when Daddy left the house?
I really can't remember. I think those feelings came as I got older and started realizing that he wasn't in my life as often as I would like.
Mm-hmm.
Dad and I, we um, we had this bond because I was his oldest child, and we had this bond that whenever he got off work, he tell me these stories because I really can't remember them. I just know that there is a bond there, and he tells me how it was created because whenever he got home from work, the first thing he wanted to do was find me and play, and every day that's what I looked forward to. And then it got to the point where he was telling me how he was a superintendent of the Sunday school
Okay.
at his church,
So
home
this when
church.
you was married to your mom,
No, when he was married to my mom, yes, he was superintendent of the
right?
Sunday school.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then he was
And
looking for you. Looked for him when he came home.
yes,
Okay. Okay.
and he would take me to church with him every Sunday morning when he, did
Right.
his thing in Sunday school,
Right.
and he would let the other little girls in the church watch me for him,
Okay.
But he tells me these stories, and like I said, I can't remember them, but I remember him. He is embedded in me, just those
Gotcha.
moments, those early moments.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was suddenly gone, I remember every time I went to visit him and my stepmom, all I really wanted to do was just be with him.
Mm.
But I was always, sent to go back outside and play with the other children because we had, once he and my stepmom married, she had children.
Mm-hmm.
He had two, she had two, and they came together and had two. So
Right.
they have a slew of kids in that house, which my brother and I love to go and play with them on the weekends and during the summer. But then during the week, it was just me and my brother and later another brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the only girl in that house. So um, I learned how to adapt to you know my situation,
Mm-hmm.
but it made me say I would never get a divorce because I would never want my children to go through what I had to go through growing up. It's not easy.
You know, a lot of times when we find ourselves in these situations, right, as kids,
Mhm.
whether they good or bad, especially the bad ones, we always want to be completely opposite of what that bad situation was, right? And we tell ourselves, I'm not going to do this to my kids. The thing I would say to you, Tracy, right?
Mhm.
What do you think your parents said to themselves when they were kids, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm never going to do this to what they dad and mom did to them,
exactly.
right? And so I think what happens is, and you tell me if you think this is true or not.
Hmm.
I think what happens is that when each generation comes, a lot of time they do the best they can
Right.
with the situation that they have, trying to be better than what they just came from, right?
Hmm.
And the generations coming up hold grudges because we don't understand what they just went through.
Right.
And when you look back and you become an adult, you start looking back like, wow, okay, wait a minute, mom and dad, they probably was just doing the best they can. Because anybody watching us right now would say,
Mhm.
when you get a certain age, you start to see the bigger picture because now you're going through trials and tribulations. And sometimes, right, what happens, Tracy? You find yourself doing exactly the same doggone thing that your parents went through. What do you say to
You're
that? Do
right.
you say what?
So my first husband and I, the one that's deceased now, we did all we could to make sure we had a wholesome home for
We
our
can't get to your
girls.
first husband first. I don't want to get there first. We're gonna slow it
Oh
down.
no,
Okay.
this is slow.
Okay,
That's
okay.
why I went back.
Okay, okay.
Um, we did all we could, and like I said, I'd never wanted a divorce. He came out of a 2-parent home. They never got a divorce.
Mhm.
And I wrote in my book how I wanted so bad for my children. I was trying to protect my children so bad
Mhm.
from that D word divorce.
Mhm.
But come to find out, another D word came, and that was death. Because I wanted them to always have 2 parents, but it was not in God's will. Because next thing you know, God allowed him to die. I couldn't protect him from that. I tried. I
Mhm.
tried hard. I was praying and reading scriptures and anointing him and all this stuff, thinking I could keep him alive.
Mhm.
And it was God's will for him to go. So I called myself, gonna fix this.
Mhm.
And I ended up in another relationship 3 years after he passed, knowing I wasn't over him, but thinking I could fix me by just getting another.
I got you, but like I said, let's not go that far yet because you're still a little
Okay.
girl. You're still 4.
Okay.
So we want to take you back to being 4 years old. Right?
Gotcha.
And so when you went through your situation with your father at 4 and you came back home, going back and forth, as you were going through life, right?
Mhm.
And you was going back and forth, what were you feeling? Because there are a lot of people that know, the young women that are watching this. What were you feeling, and what were you trying to think of? Like, can I get time with my dad? Were you good in school? Did this have any effect on you?
By the grace of God, I was good in English and reading.
Okay.
Math, no. I was in special ed for math.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm not good with math now. I can count my money, but that's all I can count.
At least you can do that, right? I think both of us can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think my grades suffered because I didn't have anybody telling me, do your homework or
Mhm.
just being on me. Mom was doing her thing because she had to work 2 or 3 jobs.
Mhm.
Dad was doing his thing. He wasn't in the house with us, and then he had his church he was trying to build.
Mhm.
So there was really no one there to make sure we did right.
Mhm.
But what I thank God for is I wasn't in that situation long before Dad, you know, found God and began pastoring, and he put that same God in us,
Mhm.
and it helped me and all of my siblings to be able to look at life a little bit different and not to dwell on what we didn't have and thinking about what we had. And even today, I thank God that my dad stuck with it
Mhm.
because I don't know if you've ever heard him and my stepmom preach,
No, I
but
haven't.
they tell their story over the pulpit all the time
Mhm.
about how they had hard times in that marriage.
Mhm.
But I thank God that they stayed
Mhm.
because it gave us a sense of wholeness,
Okay.
you know. And I tried that. I guess you said you're gonna get to it, but I just
Right.
want to say I tried that in that
Right.
second marriage, and I couldn't do it.
So
I
when you
appreciate
was
them.
going through high school, right? You was but majority of the time you was spending with your mom. Okay.
Through the week.
Okay. Were you dating during that time? Who was Tracy? Because the book, you got a story.
Yeah.
But fun loving, cheerleader, school. What all were you doing in high school? And what high school did you go to?
I went to Hewitttown High School.
Oh, you bougie. If everybody know about it, Birmingham, Alabama, that's where I ain't home to school there back in the day, y'all. You bougie, okay.
I didn't think I was bougie.
Yeah, you didn't because you were bougie, but go ahead.
What was the question? What you asked?
So who were you? Cheerleader, dating, or were you the good lady set up in school and like, hey, I'm God fearing and don't touch me?
I was more like that.
Really?
I was very quiet when it came to
wait a minute, you wore your skirts down to your knees and stuff, and
Daddy had us in skirts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we was in skirts and no makeup
makeup
and
no makeup.
No makeup.
Hold on, because you're not around the same age, so in the 80s when Salt and Pepper and all, you wasn't Salt and Pepper's here.
Nope, didn't know nothing
short,
about all that.
You didn't know nothing about none of that.
I was heavily in the church.
You didn't know none of the NWA.
I will say Michael Jackson was my favorite, but I didn't know all of it.
Okay, human nature. All right. Wow. So how did you, I guess because of social media, there was no social media back then. You didn't watch MTV?
Not really. Maybe here and there at somebody else's house.
So when you got out of school, you went on the phone, your boyfriend wasn't calling the house?
I did have a boyfriend in high school. And as a matter of fact, he went to my church.
Oh,
he was a member of our church. So, we had that holy connection.
Wait a minute.
We weren't doing all that kissing and hugging and stuff,
Listen, everybody watching this show know how them church boys are. Okay, and them church girls are. These are some of the worst.
Yeah,
okay, so especially if you're dating the preacher's son or the preacher's daughter. But I'm gonna leave that alone.
Mama. He had a strict mama. She didn't play that.
Yeah, they did too. But okay, we're gonna leave that alone. Okay. That's your story, Tracy. I'm gonna let you stick to it. Okay. I'm gonna let you stick to that story. So how many boyfriends did you have in high school?
High school. Start with middle school. I think I had about two in middle school. And
don't sound
one
holy
in
to
high
me.
school.
Yeah. So you had a boyfriend in middle school?
He was aggressive.
See, I told y'all. Joe 1st chapter 3rd verse. So,
he had your name.
I told y'all 1st chapter 3rd verse. It wasn't me, y'all. Even though we read it, was not me. Okay, it was not me. It was not.
I got in trouble. He got me in trouble.
Yeah, we're gonna get you. Hey, that's what them Joes do. You know what I'm saying? Joes for the bros. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. But so you dated. You was a normal, fun-loving kid. Parents divorced. You graduated in 1987, if I'm doing the math correctly. So when you graduated, did you go to high school? Did you go to college? What did that look like?
I went to Jeff State.
You went to Jeff State? So when you was in high school, did you think that you was going to go to college? Did you want to go to college? No,
all I was thinking about was marriage and babies.
What? Thank you, Jeremy.
You're most welcome, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is the owner of Filter Coffee Parlor bringing us our lovely coffee, the butterscotch, salty butterscotch coffee. We're going to be tasting here in a few minutes. See, this story, this is why I love to tell the story. I told you don't rush, see, because you were trying to get past all this. You just want to jump into the marriage part of it, right? See? That's where y'all listen to coffee and conversations. Let's get some of this coffee right here. So and tell me how you like it. That is so good. That is so good. Uh-huh. Yeah. Look at it. She's still looking at it. Yeah. Go ahead, Miss Tracy. Ooh. Yeah, that's the good stuff right there.
Oh, that's real good.
You don't need them 3 sugars, do you?
With that salted butterscotch.
Salted butterscotch, yeah.
That's real good.
You don't need them 3 sugars, do you? All right, y'all. That's our sponsor of the show, the Filter Coffee Pod. So you guys got time to come on down, or you in Birmingham area. It's on the south side, right over by the original Pancake House. All right, back to the story with Tracy O'Neal Daniel. She's in the building. Let's get back to your little fast self, okay? Hold it and thou, okay? Let's go ahead and get back in, okay? Because trying to be like the first lady, y'all. Y'all, I told y'all gonna love these coffee conversation stories that we be having. You find out some interesting, y'all. When y'all go back, watch the earlier part of the interview. She's trying to run to the husband part, right? She didn't want to get part to this part where when I was getting ready to go to college and all I thought about was babies and how you get the babies from high school.
Well,
and husband and married if you so holy.
Like I said, I wanted what I didn't have. I wanted that wholesome family, you know.
Right out of high school.
Yeah. I mean, when my dad and stepmom got together, that was his desire. He wanted a wholesome family, and we did have that. And just seeing how they raised us, a house full of children, and my stepmom, you know, she was at home every day cooking and cleaning and stuff. You know, I don't know, it was just something about it. I wanted that for my life.
So I'm being facetious here, but I'm asking this real question. How in the world did you know and bring that microphone just a little bit closer to you?
Okay.
There you go. All right. How did you know in some way, shape, or form or fashion? I'm just being honest, Tracy.
Okay.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
Nope.
America, y'all know where I'm going with this?
I cannot figure it out.
At 17, 18 years old, how did you think you knew you was ready to be a mom and a wife right out of high school?
I didn't say I was ready. I said that's what I desired for my life. So I couldn't imagine going to college because my mind was just straight into wanting to be a wife and a mom.
Man, that sounds so sinful to me. I'm just saying, Tracy. I'm just saying, right out of high school, I'm a church going girl. My daddy raised on the red stuff, had my skirts down here. I get out of high school and I want to be a wife and I want to be a mom. And
yeah.
Okay. All right. So you went to Jeff State and you majored in what?
Well, I started majoring in mass communications.
Mass communications? Okay.
So I've always loved, you know, I've always done things like that for my church. So I started doing that. But it was so boring, some of the lectures, and I couldn't take it.
Okay. So
I decided, you know what? Let me find something else. So I changed my major to child development.
Okay.
And it came in handy.
Okay.
Because look at all the children God gave me.
Okay. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. Because see, Tracy, what I'm seeing, right? Can I say this, America? You're a little fast. You just went slow by getting it, okay? That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on out there. I'm gonna put that on out there, right? Because we hear this speeding. Like you've been trying to get to the end of the part of the story, the skip part of this. You're a little Speedy Gonzalez. Okay, you ain't sneaky though. You don't call us in conversation. I see you coming, but I love the story because people need to understand that even though you see certain things and you feel certain things, right? Just because you feel it doesn't mean you did it. Like you said, that was a desire, but you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? That time what you was gonna do, so you just went with life, right? But then you started to progress. That's why it's important to listen to the story, right? Because I could just judge you from what you just said. And that wouldn't be who the person that you actually became to be, right? And I love that. So now you're here, you're in Jeff State, right? You're taking business communication, which was boring, right? You went to job, mass communication, and it was boring. But then you said, okay, let me go ahead and get into this child development thing. What led you to child development?
Because I've always liked children, you know, being in the church, there was always babies, and I was always holding somebody's baby. So that sounded like the next best thing. And I took it and I loved it. And that's that's the area where I found my first real job because my advisor in the high school called her asking if she had any students that she would suggest to be to work in their program. And she suggested me. And that's how I got that job.
Look at God. So you was there doing the child development. When you got into it, did you graduate from college?
I got married before I graduated.
You just helped me prove my point to this whole interview. Lord have mercy, Jesus.
I came very close. I had, I think, like 3 classes left before I graduated, but I married and moved to Nebraska.
I'm gonna drink me some more coffee. Drink me some more coffee.
I'm gonna tell you, one of the driving forces was the fact that I could not pass that algebra. I told you I was not good in math.
Listen, Linda. Listen, Linda. We're not gonna let you get off. No, it's
I took it 3 times and I couldn't.
Y'all here trying to hedge a bet, right? I'm gonna let you. Well, I sip on my coffee. Go ahead, keep going, Tracy. Go ahead.
I couldn't pass algebra, so I said, you know what? I'm just gonna leave this alone and we're gonna get married.
Y'all heard that, right? So 3 classes away.
Yeah.
Right.
3 math classes.
Okay. 3 math classes away.
I learned what I needed.
You know, I'm gonna let you leave it right there. But I get the gist of it, right? But I think when you tell this story, right, you see, where you could have done better. You see things that you could have pushed through yourself also, right? And now that as we're going back to the story, I'm learning even more about you.
Yeah.
Right. And I see that you are a very passionate person about life, about God, and about family. However, Tracy has her own will of what she needs to do, and if she needs to pivot, she knows how to pivot when it's time, when what does best for her, and it has worked out for you, right? So when people hear me saying these things, right, I'm making certain jokes about it. It's fun because everybody's story has these pivots and these different turns.
Yeah.
If you ask me about mine, right? If you would have asked me what you thought I was going to be, people would probably say in jail, in a gang somewhere, right? Because I came from a good family, but however, at the end of the day, I was the firstborn and I was a bad child. Right. I never got in trouble, but I got in trouble. Right. So I never got in trouble with the law, but I was in trouble, always at home. If something happened or something was broken or something was going on, it was me. Right. If you would have said, would he be sitting on TV and doing national stuff and all this other stuff? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if it was some trouble brewing, I was somewhere around. That was me. Right. So that's why I say when I love your stories, because I can make fun of it. Because nobody would have thought I'd be sitting here today talking to Tracy O'Neal, the best-selling author, right? And I am. Now, you got married. Did he propose to you? No.
Okay.
You in college. You're not going to get away from this. You got 3 classes. How did this man get Tracy to say, we need to move to Nebraska and get married?
So anyway, I was in college while we were dating.
Yeah. Was he at the same college?
No, he was in Nebraska because he was stationed there in the military.
How you get to know him?
We grew up together.
Oh, so y'all kept in contact?
I wouldn't say kept. We started contacting each other.
There was no internet back then, for real. How y'all contacting?
Telephone.
So what you call
it?
Hold on, what you doing calling him if you was in college? See, this is why you ain't graduated.
He called me.
He was coming out to Tracy. He looked you up. Okay. So
see, like I said, we knew each other. We grew up together.
Right.
And our mothers were pregnant with each other. With mine, me, him with his mom with him.
Gotcha.
And we grew up going to the same kindergarten. We didn't go to the same elementary, but we went to high school together. But the funny thing is, I did not like this man. I did not like him in school. I thought he was a nerd, which he was. He'll tell you if he could. He was a nerd, and I was not interested in him. And years after we graduated, and I'm in college, and he in Air Force doing his thing. And then one day, I asked his mom for his number. And no, not his number, his address. And I sent him a letter. And he sent me a letter. And I sent him one back. And it went back and forth like that. And we got married.
I'm going to let that marinate, America. Because it didn't sound like he came after you.
Well.
Now that pay back the tape. You said.
I wrote him a letter. That's what you're talking about.
So you made the initial contact to the nerd that you didn't like.
Well, let me say it like this. He always liked me in school. But I didn't like him. But You know how you friend zone guys?
No.
He was in the friend zone, but I pulled him out the friend zone. That's all.
But you see how people be changed up stories, America? Because she forgot what she said a little bit earlier, right?
What
that he
I say?
came after me, right? He was after no. The nerd guy that you hadn't seen her talk to, right? Wasn't even thinking about you no more at no point in time. At that time,
Oh, he was thinking about me. He was thinking about me. Yeah. His mama told me he was thinking about me.
Oh, his mama told you.
Yeah.
Did he ask for your address and your phone number?
Well, he always knew where I lived.
Did
We
he
grew
call
up
you
together.
before you contacted him? I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm just giving you a hard time.
That's been a long time.
But you contacted him, right?
I just sent him a lot.
So let me ask you this question before I move. I gotta have a little bit more fun on this. So just a tad bit more. Why did you contact the nerd that you didn't like because he was friends with?
I remember going back and forth to church and from church.
Okay.
And when you pass out, when you go to our church, you have to pass these big white tanker things. And I could see myself passing those things every Sunday saying, God, who is he? Where is he? I always wanted to know, who is it that you have for me? And one day when I came home from work and I was climbing the stairs and I heard my mom on the phone and she was talking to his mom because they was, good friends. And immediately God dropped it in my spirit, asked for his address. And I said, Mama, tell Daw to give me Junior's address.
Okay.
And his mama was so excited. That's all she had been waiting on. She was so happy. So I think she prayed the rest of the way through, and that's how. Because you know what I forgot to tell you? When we were babies, he came to my birthday party, and his mom tells me to this day at that birthday party, she told my dad that they're gonna get married one day. She spoke it, and I never knew it until after we got together. Then she told me that God showed
America.
me.
Let that marinate. Go back and listen to the whole story. We gonna move on. Conversation with the one and only Tracy O'Neal Daniel in the building. So you kept contact with him, and then you went on and you was in school. So did he propose to you? Because he was in Nebraska. Did he propose to you through phone? And then you moved. How did that work?
He and his mom talked. His mom had a ring that belonged to his grandma.
Okay.
And they discussed how she would put the ring on my finger and he would propose.
Oh, he was slick. Oh, he used. Mama said, we gonna make this happen. My prayer for to come true. You ain't got to.
Because I always visited her.
Mama said, this gonna happen, baby. You ain't got to come from Nebraska. I'm gonna put the ring on the finger for you, okay? And we gonna go ahead and pack her on up and send her to Nebraska. Okay.
Yeah, she knew I was visiting her every Sunday. I made a point to go see her after church.
Okay.
And so they decided when she come over here today, we're gonna do it. So his mama had him on the phone and said, Junior, want to speak to you. So I'm talking to him. And next thing I know, she pulling out a ring. And he's asking me to marry him.
Wow. Now that's different. I've never heard that. I've never heard anybody proposing through the phone with the mom putting a ring on his fiance's. But that's beautiful. So you said, okay, I'm college, I'm gone. I'm done. Was it like that? Or
yes. I was tired of struggling with math.
Right.
I was like, you know what? Forget this. I ain't got to do that.
Hey, y'all, she said, this is God's answer to me. I ain't got to finish math now. Y'all got to start giving God these kind of credit. Y'all got to stop giving God these kind of credit. God don't want that credit, y'all. I'm just telling you. But that was a beautiful thing. So you got up and did they have a ticket ready for you? He sent your ticket. How did that go?
Oh, talking about going to Nebraska.
Because you had to pack up and leave.
I didn't pack up immediately.
Okay.
He came home to visit that summer.
Okay.
And when he came home, he brought a different ring.
One
that he had purchased.
Right. Himself. My man.
And so then we started discussing marriage, and my dad thought it would be a good idea if I go out to Nebraska to visit him to get an idea of, is this really what I wanted? And that summer I went and visited him and met all his friends and his church family, and I was hooked.
Gotcha.
And I came home determined to do all this wedding planning so I can get up out of here.
Mhm.
And that we got married November of 1991 and moved straight to Nebraska. Didn't even do a honeymoon because think about
Right.
it, I'm going to Nebraska.
Right.
That's the honeymoon.
Right. So love took you to Nebraska. So now Tracy O'Neal Daniels is in Nebraska with her new husband that proposed to over the phone. Gotcha. All right. So how was it? How old were you at that time when you got married?
We were 21. No, 22.
You was 22.
Mhm.
Okay, 22 years old, fresh out of college, didn't quite finish, but almost got there, right?
Mhm.
Now you're in Nebraska. How was that?
It was tough because you're away from family.
Mhm.
I mean, 900 and something miles away from family.
Right.
I remember one night dreaming about my family and thinking in my head, oh, I got to go see them when I wake up. And then woke up and was disappointed. I can't go see them. But yeah, it was, financially stressful, we had all that.
Was it everything you thought it was going to be?
No. But love prevailed.
Okay.
Mhm.
I want to pause right here for a second because I want to say to if a woman is going through that situation right now,
Mhm.
right, and thinking about doing that, right, would you advise that?
Doing what?
Moving from one place to another to marry somebody.
I would.
Okay.
And I would because that is what made the bond between my husband and I so close.
Okay.
We were close because all we had to depend on was each other.
Okay.
When you're at home with all these other family members or whatever in your business, and
Right.
it's tough.
Mhm.
But I would advise any couple, even if it's just for the first year or two. I think we had like 2.5 years together by ourselves,
Mhm.
and that was the best thing we could do.
Awesome. So when you got there using Nebraska, you're the wife. Were there any kids out of the first marriage?
Yes.
Okay.
The first child we had was in Nebraska. It was a son.
Okay.
And that's what brought us home because after losing him, he was born with congenital heart disease.
So stop right there. Okay. So you had a child with your husband,
Mhm.
and you lost your child.
Mhm.
So how was that?
It was hard. It was very hard because I'm out here in Nebraska, just me and him, and you need family when you're going through something like that. But I will say, God gave us family through our church family out there.
Okay.
And so my pastor and his family and the other church members, they were there like family for us. But it's still nothing like your own. And I remember going through that baby lived 7 months. And in that 7th month, when he was on his deathbed, I remember reaching out to my dad and telling him, you told me wherever I was in this world, if I ever needed you, you would be there. And he said, you need me, baby? I said, I need you. He was there the next morning.
Wow.
And
so this was your father that didn't live with you.
Mm-hmm.
Your real dad
my
came
biological
dad,
dad.
and he came.
Mm-hmm. Him and my brother.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And they came, and I could still remember the feeling to this day, walking in that hospital because they beat me to the hospital. My pastor had went and got them from the airport, and when I walked in the hospital and saw them, it's like a weight is dropped. You about to make me cry this morning.
That's what I do. It's coffee's a conversation. I want to tell you a story.
Yeah. But that was the baby that passed, and when he passed, we said we can't stay in Nebraska any longer because that just staying out there where all that happened,
the memories,
couldn't do it. So that's when we took measures to move back home to Birmingham, and we've been here since. I moved out there in 91, moved back in 94.
So your husband decided, okay, just like you went out there and took a chance on him, and he said, this situation we've been through as a family, you and him came together and said it's time to move back home. Okay, so you don't have to answer this question because I know it's an emotional time. You losing your son, did it have an emotional stress on your marriage with your husband, or did it bring y'all closer together?
I would say it brought us closer together. Going through something. So when you're going through similar situations, it tends to either bind you or pull you apart.
Right.
But God allowed it to bind us together.
Did you and your first husband have any more kids together?
We did. 2 years later, we had a daughter. Less than a year later, we had another daughter. Then 2 years later, another daughter. And 2 years later, another daughter. And 2 years later, twin daughters.
Okay.
So that's 6 daughters.
Okay. So all of your kids was with your first husband.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. And so, how long did you and your first husband stay married?
Till death did us part. 21 years.
Good ups and downs and all that good stuff.
Of
Did you ever
course.
want a son after your
That's
first one?
that's why I prayed for a son, because my husband was the only son, and I feel like I wanted his name to go on more than he did. It didn't bother him, but God answered my prayer and gave us a son. But God didn't tell us how long that son would be with us. But He did answer the prayer.
He did answer your prayer.
After that, all girls.
So, this is a question I'm quite sure some of the listeners right now will want to know. With 6 daughters, how many grandsons you have?
I have 2.
Right?
And it feels wonderful. It feels sometimes surreal when I'm holding them. I was holding my youngest grandson in church this Easter Sunday, and just having him there on my lap, it took my mind back. And I'm like, God, I get to hold a boy. You know, it feels so good.
Right. See how God works?
Yeah, I see how you working too. Got me crying and stuff.
It's Coffee and Conversation, y'all, with the one and only Tracy O'Neal Daniels in the building. See, if she let me tell the story, you know, we got it out of her right finally, right? She's trying to skip all this stuff. I would let her just jump to the other part. Y'all wouldn't have heard this stuff, right? But I thank you so much for just going through this with us, and speaking with us about this stuff, because a lot of times, people don't realize how influential their stories can be to others, and it takes a lot to sit here and be able to tell that story, right? From being that 4-year-old girl, right? Going to Hueytown, going to Jeff State, to this Easter Sunday, sitting in church, holding your grandson, looking at him, saying, "Thank you, God." That's a story, right? 6 daughters later, right? They gave you that son that you were that boy that you was looking for.
Yes.
It wasn't meant for you; it was meant for them.
Woo, you preaching now.
You see what I'm saying? But that's the way God works, America, right? So you have to be able to do these things and understand that when you ask for things, and God's still working on me, being honest. But I do understand this here. I hear this said. My mom said it a lot, and I hear a lot of people say it. It's not in your time.
It's in God's time.
I ain't got to finish the rest, because y'all know what I'm about. Y'all know where that goes, right? So, all this being done, you lost your first son, right? Then you was married, had 6 daughters. Something began to happen after this for you in your life. You're happy, married, everything is going well, right? And then, when I read through your bio, your first husband, something happened.
When we were pregnant with our 4th daughter, we got news that my husband had cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma. And when you hear the word cancer, you immediately think death. And that's what I was thinking. Oh God, you about to let this man die on me, and we got all these babies. And God blessed them, where after chemo and radiation, he went into remission. And even though the doctor told me, well, he told both of us that we wouldn't be able to have any more children naturally. He gave us had to make a decision whether we wanted to freeze sperm for later down the road. And we decided, hey, we're working on number 4 right now, because like I said, I was pregnant. We're gonna not worry about it. So that's it. To us, we had a God-made birth control,
right?
Just for me to get pregnant the next year with twins. That was God. God showed me through that not only did I heal him, I made him whole. And after that, God gave us 12 more years. He was able to spend 12 more years with his family.
Wow.
And then time was up.
So was it cancer?
It was a different cancer. The one you hear about on TV that they tell you to get a lawyer, mesothelioma.
Okay.
That comes from it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, did you get news about it? Did it happen suddenly?
It during the time Whitney Houston funeral was happening. We were sitting in the ER trying to figure out what was wrong with him because he had been complaining about pains in his back, up near his lungs. And he had been going to the doctor, and the doctor treating him for, like acid reflux and stuff like that, but it just wouldn't go away. And on that morning of that funeral, because I remember being in the waiting room watching it on the television, we went and they did a CAT scan, and they said they saw something questionable, and they told us we need to contact his oncologist, as soon as we could. So when Monday morning came, we did that, and he made an appointment. We went a few days later. They did test, and then we waiting on the doctor to call us and tell us, okay, what is it? What is it? It was 11 o'clock at night when that doctor called. You know why it took him so long?
Why?
Because Erskine was his patient that he was so happy for us. The fact that Erskine was healed from that first cancer, and then he turned around and had twins, and the doctor even called those twins his twins. He was proud of them. And to have to tell us that he had cancer again, he did not want to do that. But he had to. And so, like I said, we found out in February of 2000. What was that? February 2000, right? And no,
I'm not for sure. I'm just
2012.
Okay. I'm just going by your number.
I'm thinking about the first cancer. This second cancer, February of 2012. He got diagnosed. By December of that same year, he was gone. Because they say mesothelioma don't play. When you find out you got that, you already, know the sentence.
I want to ask this question. You don't have to answer it. But did he know that he wasn't going to make it through this one?
Sometimes I think about it and I feel like he knew, he felt something. Because he was always, he wasn't at peace. It's like, I'm always wondering, what is God showing you? What is going on? Because my dad will come over and talk to him, and he'll be calm and in good spirits. And then the next day, he messed up all over again. So I feel like he knew more than he was sharing. He felt something because he was the kind of person that didn't want to speak. He wanted to be careful what came out of his mouth. Because, we learned that in the church. Don't speak it, speak those things that's not as though they were. And he was believing God for his healing. And me and the girls believing God and, speaking word. And so he was feeling things that he wouldn't share with us. And it took me going to, while he was in the hospital, and they decided there was nothing more they could do, and they was going to send him home on hospice. And I'm like, what? And I ran and talked to the man, the doctor that was doing the radiation. And I'm like, explain to me what's going on. I don't understand it. He had to break it down to me. He said, we've really gone as far as we can go. His body is, is breaking down. There's nothing we can do. And that hurt me so bad because I'm like, God, me and my husband, we worked faithfully in the church. 7 years. We were over the media team, and not just him. I was doing media. He was doing media and everything else, fixing air conditioners, fixing computers. He was a fixing man for the church. So I'm like, God, why are you allowing this to happen to him? He serves you well. But now it took this many years for me to realize it was just God's will. And God had already given him more time back in 2012.
Were you angry with
I
God
mean,
at that point?
20
Were you angry with God
2000.
when he took your husband?
Yeah, I was. I was real hurt because like you said, I've been a church girl all my life. You know, is this what I get for being a church girl and working for you all my life? All my life been in church, and this how you pay me? I was real hurt.
How did you and God mend that relationship?
He never left me. He let me have my temper tantrums. He let me make my mistakes, but he never left me.
During the despair, during the doubt time, what are some of the things you did?
I got into bad relationship because I was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Mhm.
I was spending money I shouldn't have been spending, giving money I shouldn't have been giving,
Mhm.
trying to buy love, trying to buy my life back. And God just, he just, if you could see him in the spirit, he was just sitting there standing next to me, rubbing my back, letting it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right.
What was the moment you knew, okay, enough? At what moment did you know enough was enough?
Um, I really thought, well, okay, put it like this. That first relationship I got into after he passed,
Mhm.
when I finally let that guy go, I decided I'm gonna focus on my girls. I'm not gonna focus on getting in any other relationships. And just as soon as I made that declaration for my life, that's when another relationship presented itself.
Mhm.
And I was in, confusion.
Mhm.
When you're grieving, you can end up doing some stupid stuff. You end up doing things you never thought you would do.
Mhm.
And I was confused. I was like, God, is this from you? Should I go? And I was too scared not to because I was like, maybe I'm turning down who God got for me.
Mhm.
So, I jumped in it with 2 feet and it lasted 7 years. Although I saw the red flags before I even said I do. So I can't fault him because he was who he was. But I was believing, you know how women believe they can change a
Mhm.
man? I thought once he get married, he'll change. More of the real him came out. That's all it was. And finally, I got to the point where I'm like, God, you need to tell me what to do. And when God spoke, I ran.
Wow. If you guys are just locking in right now, we're here at the Filter Coffee Parlor live on the show. Of course, Coffee Conversation with your boy. Tracy O'Neal, the best-selling author. You guys want to go get this book. You're going to want to go get this book. You didn't heard the story. So much more we're going to be getting into, but the book got the details. You know, they say you see the movie, or you're seeing a snapshot, but the book is going to have all the details. It's on Amazon. We're going to be telling you guys how to get it. Look on our links there. It should be on the screen popping up. It's all over Amazon right now. When you married your second husband, were you looking for your first husband and your second husband traits?
I tried not to. I told myself, do not go in this marriage looking for him to be like Erskine. And I just wanted him to be the man that I fell in love with because I really did fall in love with him. He was,
Gotcha. Mhm.
he was treating me like a queen and treating my girls like, little princesses. And I mean, if you give a person something, they're gonna keep looking for it, and that's what I was expecting. But as time went on, that it didn't last. Started
Tipped away.
and different ones, people related to him and people that just knew him, they would make little remarks that now looking back, I realized they knew who he really was. And they were shocked that he had changed for me.
Mhm.
And I guess they were watching to see how long this change was going to be. Because, they always say a man changed for who he loved. He would tell me that all the time. And so I take it that he had made some changes in his life that shocked his family. But it was just for a little while.
But me hearing your story, Tracy,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's beautiful. But I want to tell you something that you probably don't realize in your own story that you just said, especially about your second husband.
Mm-hmm.
People say there's a season and a reason for everything. And I think Tracy O'Neal Daniels was his season for him to try. It may not been the ending for him, but you was that 7-year season for him to learn to be better, right? He got a chance to see what God and family actually looks like. He never had that before, because people say, you say he changed.
Yeah.
He tried for 7 years, right? It's not that he didn't try, right? So I want to look at that marriage as a failure. You was just a support, and you was just a seed for him at that point in time. God had better things and got better things for you. And I don't know you from just a small interview and meet you through some other people, right? So we don't really talk, but just talking and listening to what you're saying, that thing that popped in my head is what she don't realize was that wasn't supposed to go as long as it was supposed to. Like sometimes when you get a divorce, I had to realize this in my own life. My marriage was for 10 years. We was together for 10, married for 7. That was a season. It made me better. There are some good times and bad times, but sometimes it's not meant for y'all to be together. It's meant for you to learn something, to get through something together and move on to something better. Right. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Appreciate that.
So when the divorce happened, right? What happened to you after that? Because now you had your first marriage, love of your life, right? Then the second guy didn't quite work out the way you wanted to. Now you got 6 kids, right? Your mom now, probably grandmom at that time. So what happened?
Well, put it like this. In a nutshell, he didn't know how to be a husband to a widow and children who had lost their dad.
Okay.
Because it was hard to be honest.
Sure.
I wasn't over my husband. Okay. And not
He had big shoes to fill.
He had big shoes
to fill.
Yes. And so not just that, but my girls and I, we would talk about their dad. Think about it. That's their dad, and I'm the memory holder of him, and anything that they want to know about him, they come to mama.
All right.
And that was uncomfortable for him.
And he's living in the shadow of greatness.
Yeah.
That's tough. You have to be really big to live in the shadow of greatness, right? And sometimes people can't overcome that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think there still was a season. That's what I come and say. It was a season for a reason of that.
And so he started acting out toward. He had already been acting out toward me, but when I saw it toward the children, that's when I was like, okay,
that's it.
That's it.
So you got a divorce from him. So once you divorced, everything was final. You know what I'm saying? You went through all that good stuff. What did you do? Talk to me, Trace. Now what you doing?
So during my confusion, God allowed me to make a wise decision, and that was the year after my husband passed. I purchased a home that was foreclosed.
Okay.
It was a foreclosed home. It was worth like $300 and something thousand, and I got it for $140. Paid cash for it. Me and my kids lived.
I knew you was bougie. Come on, good God. Yes, bougie. Pay cash. I paid. Anyway, go ahead, Tracy. That's why you're a best-selling author. Are you single? Go ahead.
Of course. So anyway, I purchased that home. My kids and I lived there about a year or 2 before the new husband came. And then he ended up moving in there with us. So once we got, I think like 3 or 4 years after he and I married, we purchased a home together. And that's where we were living when the divorce took place. So what happened was my girls and I moved back to the home that I had purchased because it
You had
stayed
paid cash
empty.
for it, and it was still,
Yeah, it was
part of the
still
family.
mine, definitely.
Yeah.
But after going through all of that, we just didn't want those memories, along with the fact that the house was an older house and it started breaking down, and I wasn't able to keep that up.
Right.
So I heard God when He told me to sell it. I was standing outside one day looking at all that I needed to do to it, and I'm like, I can't keep this up by myself. And I heard big as day, sell it, and that's what I did.
Okay.
And found a good realtor that helped me sell it, and we moved to Shelby County.
Okay. So you
Mhm.
moved to Shelby County, you know, your kids around being with you and things like that. How did the book come?
The book was always in me. Um, During the time I was still married to that my second husband.
Okay.
But the things I was writing during that time was about how we go through hardship in marriage, but
Mhm.
how, dying to ourselves and doing those things that a wife or a husband should do, to make the marriage work.
Mhm.
But a lot of that stuff I ended up not being able to use in this book because the marriage didn't work. It just, it dissolved. So I had to refocus and repurpose the book.
Mhm.
And I decided, hey, I'm going to talk about what I went through, because there are women out there who losing husbands every day, and I'm not, abnormal. They're thinking like me. You want somebody else to fill those shoes, and so I need to let them know it's not going to be easy. And make sure you hear from God, and don't just do it to please your flesh, because after flesh is pleased, then you still got to deal with mental and physical, emotion, all that. So I just wanted to, like my dad always say, holler back down the road. I need to holler back down the road and let people know that's coming this way, what you're in for. Be mindful of, what you're doing.
And the name of the book is Since He Went Away. I'm being funny a little bit, but which he you talking about?
I bet a lot of people think
since we heard the story, right? Because this is a glory, like praise God, he went away, or man, he went away book.
Since I talk about everything I've gone through since my first husband went away. Since my love of my life went away.
So people that are going to buy this book on Amazon.com right now, Since He Went Away, the author is Tracy O'Neal Daniels, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want them to get from your book?
Encouragement. Because if God brought me through all of that, whatever you're going through, He can bring you through it.
And why should people go buy your book today?
Because they love me. No.
Are there any surprises they're going to find in the book?
I think they should buy the book because it will heal. It healed me just writing it. I went in that book, one person, and came out of it, different woman, because I was able to look back at some things. They say hindsight is 20/20, and that is so true. You see things more clearer when you have a chance to sit back and think about them, or what you've gone through. Right. And so I think it will cause them to think about things that they've gone through, and they in turn will be healed.
I want to ask you a favor. After this interview,
okay,
can I get a signed copy from the best-selling author?
Guess what? That's your signed copy
right
there. I signed it this
morning.
Look
at God. Look at God. Yeah, God works. Amen. Hallelujah. I want to ask you this question, and we're about to get ready to get up here, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. It's been a delightful, inspirational conversation that I'm having with my new friend, Tracy O'Neal Daniels, in the building. Number one, thank you for sharing the story with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great book. I'm sure I'm going to sit down and read it in my spare time. But I want to ask Tracy this. The little girl that's 4 years old that we talked about that you were trying to run away from. You're now at this stage in your life, successful, happy, kids, grandkids, little grandson now, right? They've been through a lot, best-selling author. What would you tell that 4-year-old Tracy now?
It gets better. The story gets better. Because if you think about it, being that young and going through this back and forth with my parents, and that was one thing that really made me want to run to Nebraska too. Not to be a part of all that, but I need her to know it gets better.
Wow. Tracy O'Neal Daniels, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You enjoyed the show? Well, at the end of the show, we always do this right here. Give me your coffee. Put your coffee up a little bit right there. There you go. Thank you for having a coffee and conversation with your boy. I appreciate you so much. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you guys share the clips that's going to be out there a little bit later. If y'all want to follow Tracy O'Neal Daniels, go ahead and follow out there on the page. We're going to put all the links over there. And make sure, do me a favor, y'all. Make sure you go buy her book. It is an inspirational story. I think everybody that's looking for some type of inspiration or just for support, go support. All right. Go ahead and get the book, y'all. We love you guys. Make sure you guys tune into our show this evening with Women's Only. Denise is going to be on there. Make sure you watch our other show tomorrow, Thursday Mix. And next week, Coffees and Conversations, I got another exciting guest. I ain't going to tell you who it is, but let's just say the pole, the Bible, all that's in there. All right. You guys stay tuned. We love you guys. You guys have a good one. See you guys next week.